Hello, management, 6301 students. This is your ABLE instructor here for kind of the final intro with our Week 7 activities. So I was very pleased with the discussion over the last module. I think people had some great things to talk about with leadership and very happy with how this class has progressed, especially on the discussion boards. All right, Week 7, this is our last week together. Let's jump into it. So first chapter the first module is on the final component of management, control, extremely important stuff. So this is, we're shaking things up a little bit about the chapters we're covering, so make sure you read the right one. I think our operations management and communications chapters we don't have time for, but we of course can't skip the topic of control as one of the key 4 functions of management. So check this out. Of course, read the chapter and then get into the Netflix material, which I've got set up for the discussion board. Interesting stuff, of course. I'm sure we have many fans of Netflix out there, and they've got an interesting approach to their management system, and similar to some of the things that we've talked about before, as far as how organizational culture can be used as a strong form of control. They take that in an interesting direction with their control strategy, its overall management strategy. So, of course, Netflix has been gigantically successful, so an interesting example to look at. So, spend some time on that, but make sure you don't spend too much time on that. A lot of other things going on. You want to jump into the next module. Now, as an entrepreneurship professor, it's been pretty much impossible for me to not infuse this entire class with the topic of entrepreneurship and what basically management is like in startup and young, hopefully rapidly growing companies. So we've got more than a taste of it so far, but certainly within this last module, we're jumping into it wholeheartedly, looking at the topic of entrepreneurship. Read over that stuff within the text and then jump into a great article it's based on the work of a very noted entrepreneurial researcher at the University of Virginia about how entrepreneurs think. So check that out. I also got a great article for you about organizations, large bureaucratic organizations oftentimes get stuck, path dependent, as they talk about within management scholarship, that they're going down a path and they really can't get off that particular path that was set a long time back, and that oftentimes doesn't work. So corporate entrepreneurship is talking about how larger bureaucratic organizations can breathe entrepreneurial energy and life and mindset within those large bureaucratic structures. So check that out, an interesting topic. And then, even though he's been dead for 6-7 years, I still have a man crush on Steve Jobs. So we've got, if you haven't seen it already, check out the Steve Jobs commencement address at Stanford. Very famous commencement address, really captures the idea of a person who started with Steve Wozniak company in his parents' garage and ended up with the highest stock market valuation of any company in the world by the time of his death. So certainly a entrepreneur/manager we can learn a lot about. And, of course, we've touched on him also during this class, especially with the idea of bringing your A game. And the job of a manager is to basically reduce the bozo factor. You can't let B and C players dominate what's going on in your organization. Have to make sure A players bringing their A game and everybody else is rising to that level. Netflix certainly has some interesting strategy about how to make that happen also. So that would be our material. Of course, we have some interesting stuff also coming up. Reaction paper. With the first reaction paper, I thought there was some good stuff. I thought there was some not excellent stuff, or the good or average. And one thing that lots of people were missing was doing sufficient research to thoroughly understand your topic and to be able to address those issues that are established there within the syllabus as far as the different components of the reaction paper. So reaction papers are designed to be an opportunity for you to investigate more in depth a particular topic that we're covering So make sure you do that and make sure that's evident that you have gone on that exploration of that particular topic through the types of information you're citing and your ability to integrate that information into a polished, no more than 2.5-page essay, which includes, of course, your personal reaction to that topic and how that's going to shape your development as a manager as you move forward. So that's the reaction paper. Of course, we also have exam 2. Hope you'll enjoy this. Again, as an entrepreneurship professor, we'd like to talk about firms that are rapidly changing, that perhaps are a recent vintage. And so I thought it'd be fun and interesting to compare and contrast both what we've talked about as best practice, managerial practice as established by the text, to best practice as has been covered within some of these high growth firms such as Netflix and the other, Riot Games and other companies that their management practices that we've explored throughout the semester, and compare and contrast that with basically the old economy, companies that have been around for, say, 100 years or longer that have had some success, and seeing if we can better understand managerial practice within the new and the old economy. So that's what we've got for exam 2, and of course that's posted already also at the bottom of module 7. So that's what we've got coming up over the last week. Let's make this a great week, week 7. Many of you are taking your first class or your first semester within the online program. I hope it's been a rewarding experience and finish strong. This is the last time we're going to do one of these things, so if I can help you in the future, especially with your entrepreneurial endeavors, please feel free to check in as long as you're a UTRGV student or a UTRGV alumni. This institution is meant to be a resource for you as you move forward. While you're paying us money and tuition, that's good. We want to keep that relationship as time goes on too. So however I can help you moving forward in the future, please check in. You know where to find me.